I'm Alex, and I'm here today with Charlotte Windyback from First Face to Face and Lucy Batley, founder of Jump, to talk a little bit about the current landscape when it comes to businesses and startups, what we could be doing with this time, how we could use this time as a launch pad to maintain or improve our success going forward. So my first question would be, how are you guys managing so far with working from home and managing your businesses remotely?
Windybank, you go first.
Okay, so hello. So we're basically, there's two parts of it. So on the negative side, I am missing the warmth of the office, not like actually like the temperature. Like I have a normal heating arrangement in my house, but the but the kind of the being around people, obviously, you know, everyone will say it, but it's like when you're working and you want to have a bit of banter and you look to your right and it's just a doorway or a plant or a cat. I'm missing that side of things because although we are meeting as a team, it's in Zoom meetings and they have this sort of formality about them. You know, you have to wait till your turn to speak and stuff like that. And you still have fun, you know. I mean, how many pub quizzes have we done in the last month? It's ridiculous. My general knowledge is up here now. But it still does, is that informality of the kind of the back and forth-ness of communication that I miss. On the other side of it, though, it's interesting. It's bringing back memories of when I first started my business. So it was very much me and the computer and the skill set that you have when you start a business is coming back into place. So you're not distracted, you're not thinking, oh, I've got to go do the washing up, you know, all that kind of stuff. You're just focused on the objectives and the kind of what you need to get out that day, self-motivation, all that kind of stuff. So we're quite lucky in that sense because we have that already in us from when we started up. Lucy, batters.
We're similar, yeah, a bit of mixed bag of nuts. So personally, I'm preferring working from home. I feel much more productive. But equally, I know that some of our members of staff are struggling with the isolation. So I think it's different for different people. One thing that I have struggled with is the homeschooling bit, which has just been an absolute joke. So yeah, I'm just shoving my daughter in a bedroom and giving her loads of crisps, and so she's going to emerge from this completely insane. I do feel very sorry for people who've got small kids at home. It's really difficult. So that's been tough. But yeah, like I say, I agree with what Charlotte says. It does feel kind of reminiscent of when you started with business and that kind of excitedness. And also, yeah, I personally prefer it. Don't miss the office as much as I thought I would. Don't miss the social bit as much as I thought I would. And I think going forward, this is going to be, it's going to change. Everyone's saying it's going to change the way people work, which I think is true to a point. I think more people will have remote meetings and less travelling and going down to London, etc. I also think that we will slip back into old habits. I read a brilliant article last week about a guy saying lots of people are saying that we're going to change the planet and change the way we work and be much more eco-friendly and not travel so much. And he was arguing that we are animals, and as quickly as we've adapted into lockdown, we'll adapt back out of it as well, which I think is quite true.
I think it's a really good point to make, actually, especially the going back to basics kind of thing. So we've kind of been forced to, you know, like cut down how many social, you know, how many networking events that we're going to, because obviously we can't go, and having meetings online and things like that. And it's kind of forced people that there's a lot of spare time during the day, I think, that people have found.
Yeah.
And it's how to use that, which is, I guess, what this is all about. But yeah, I completely agree. I'm actually quite enjoying it as well, weirdly enough.
It's a different pace, isn't it? It's a different pace of life, which I actually personally, so you're not strict to have your breakfast at 8 o'clock because you're rushing out the door. You can, you know,
spend an hour in traffic, all that kind of stuff.
I'm not missing that. I have to say, the commute has been amazing.
I haven't spent a penny on petrol either, which has just been amazing. So have you guys made any changes to the services you're offering to suit the new climate? And I guess this is more geared towards Charlotte, because I know that you do a lot.
We haven't, not specifically in response to what's been going on, but yeah, Charlotte, go on, you answer this one.
Okay, yeah, so I would say, like, the clues in the name, we're first face to face, so it's all of our services were very much face to face, and that was kind of our selling point, in the sense that what we were delivering was face to face interaction with other people. And so yeah, we've had a really interesting time in two ways. So the first one is looking at our output and actually working with our clients, who are very much partners in all of the work that we do, to see how we can continue the work, but obviously do it online. So we're doing some really exciting work with Northumbria University and Sunderland University, and getting our entrepreneurial skill-based workshops online, and either pre-recording them like this one, or actually having these interactive sessions. And it's all kicking off next week. And yeah, again, it's going back to like starting up again. It's like delivering a totally new service now. So yeah, so that side of it's really interesting. The other thing as well that I've realized is, because we're a service-based business, people are paying for us, for me and the team to deliver. So we do have to spend this time now really changing us as people, and become, I call it like the sponge, so taking everything in and developing our skill sets, because if we don't do that, then people will not want to work with us anymore. We're lucky in the sense that we do have a small team, so there's only 4 of us, and we can be flexible and dynamic. Luckily as well, we moved on to digital project management software before it all happened. Now, for businesses that haven't done that yet and are now having to sort of play catch up, like, I don't envy you guys in the slightest, because what that has changed, it's changed us dramatically. And I've also realized as well that how digital we actually were already, and the fact that,
Millennials, Charlotte.
Yeah, millennial. But the fact that like we are very much digital already. So we're quite like lucky in that sense.
Did you see the article about Primark, or Primark, however you want to pronounce it? Pramani, about the making 0 sales as a result of this, because they didn't take the steps to digitize. They never had an online
store. Fenix has struggled with that as well, haven't they? Because they were really late to the party in terms of getting an e-commerce website up. Something I was going to say is, so we haven't changed our services, but it's fascinating that there's people have fallen into 2 camps. But like Brexit vote, it's kind of split 50-50. So we lost about 40% of our work overnight, and then we're still working. But it's really clear there's people who've got a very proactive attitude, and they want to use the downtime to develop their brand and develop their business and develop their marketing plans. And then the others are panicking and thinking the world's going to end. And it's really, really interesting watching that shape. Obviously, we're much more pro the people who are just getting on with it, and it's not going to be forever. Yes, it's a nightmare, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I really admire people who are just cracking on. Basically, I know that it's easy to say that, and some industries like oil and gas and food and drink have been massively hit by it. But we've got food and drink clients who are using this to do their digital marketing research project, and using the downtime productively, which I think this video interview is all about.
It's really interesting how different businesses have kind of reacted to it.
I don't think it's necessarily business. I think it's people. I think it's
people.
The attitudes of the people in charge, basically.
Yeah,
they're either kind of forward thinking, or they're just panic. I tell you what we've seen as well. That I keep joking about how it's been like a kind of a process of bereavement.
I was going to say that. I know, that's cool though.
It is true though. Like the first week was there was total panic,
like shock, like what the
total shock, panic. What's going on?
End of the world.
Then it was denial, and then I really noticed it in the 3rd week. Everyone started getting really aggressive, and then I can't remember. There's five stages, and then it's acceptance, isn't it? We're in acceptance.
Well, I actually have it on my screen because that's what I was going to talk about. So shock and denial. Yeah. Pain and guilt. Like loads of people felt guilty because they weren't doing Pilates and reading a book and painting and stuff, and doing like skill stuff, or like feeling like they were procrastinating from work. Like that was definitely a thing. Then there's anger and bargaining.
There was a week where everyone got really aggressive.
I didn't even notice this.
And then you've got like reflection, a bit of loneliness.
Last week I had personal reflection.
Okay, and then you've got the
identity crisis.
Then you've got the upward turn, and then reconstruction and working through, and then finally acceptance and hope.
I think we're at the one before the last one. We're at penultimate stage.
The reconstruction and working through.
Yeah. You're starting to see people who put new business on hold, they're starting to come back this week. It's been this week. They're starting to come back and say, right, we're just going to crack on.
Yeah, don't wait around. Just
assume
this is normal.
Everyone's in the same boat. Mm-hmm. So it's either roll over and play dead or crack on and get on with it.
Exactly. Yeah. And Charlotte, you mentioned before you're doing work with Northumbria and Sunderland University, and sort of
name drop Charlotte Windybank.
How has the reaction been to promoting these sort of this new way of working? Have people accepted it? Are people really excited about it? What's that kind of, I hate using the word pivot because it's such a buzzword, but what's that kind of like pivot been like, that process of moving something like that online?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. We had the I had the phone calls with both of them, and we both, when we had the calls, it was like we expected it to be like, all right, well, okay. It was because we had an event like at the end of March that we were supposed to be doing, and it was the kind of like, all right, we assumed coming into the conversation that it would just be us saying, oh well, it's not going to happen, and let's just wait till this is all over. Mm-hmm. But what happened within conversation and actually going, but what is, and having that positive discussion, the conversations both ended with, oh well, let's just give it a go then. And it was interesting, both clients said, oh, I'm really surprised how this conversation has ended. Hey, Betsy! Nice. Yeah, so yeah, we really like, they were surprised because they thought it was all doom and gloom, and it was actually, oh, let's try something new. So that was really, that was the pivot moment for.
Well, I guess I could say that a takeaway from that is actually speaking to your customers and clients is the first thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You want to pivot something, even if it was by accident.
Yeah, you just float an idea, and they can either turn around and go, look, sorry, it's just not the right time for us. We need to totally protect what cash flow we have. Or they'll go, oh, well, let's see how far we can get with it, because as well, like, it is a minimal risk in the sense, because you can just put something out there, and if people don't sign up to it and stuff, you haven't put a lot of money into a resource. It's not like running an event and then, you open the doors and nobody comes in. Like, that's the worst feeling in the world. But with this, it's an online experience, and it doesn't really matter if people don't click on it, because you just try it again and do it better.
And test and try things a little easier now as well, as sort of less, the stakes aren't as high.
Yeah.
It's just it's change though, isn't it? People are frightened of change, and then when they realise, ooh, it's not a big scary monster, they'll just crack on with it. Sorry, yeah, if I do that, my mouth's totally
right. Yeah, the thing as well is, I've even asked clients, like, well, what should I charge? Because I've never done this before, so what should I be charging? And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Well, we've kind of got this, and again, it's another conversation, because you've never done this type of work before. So with other stuff, you can quote accurately because you know how long it will take. Whereas, so for example, I've been quoting today for a 5-minute piece of work to camera, but that's going to probably take me about 3 hours to plan, because it's condensing all that information to a 5-minute. But quoting for 5 minutes of work, I mean, that's ridiculous.
You both work with businesses and startups across the spectrum. How do you think the landscape for, I guess specifically startups, really, any kind of businesses between 1 to 3 years old, how do you think that landscape has changed during this pandemic? So how do you think people kind of approaching starting a business or even pivoting? Because what we were talking about before with that kind of bereavement scale is, I think now people are starting to think, right, we really need to do something. How do you think it's been more positive or more negative?
We're starting to see people have come forward with new business ideas, so nobody can predict what's going to happen, so they're trying to use the time to create something completely new. So it is a period of creativity. It'll also be a period where lots of people come up with ridiculously rubbish ideas. So that's a worry. From my point of view, in terms of start small businesses and 1 and 2 man bands, the way forward for me, I think we're going to see a lot more kind of collectives. So small groups. Granger Market's a brilliant example where they were massively hit. One person's got them all together and started doing deliveries, and they're just smashing it basically. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that, where people are just grouping together. And there's I don't keep talking about food and drink, but there was an article this morning about local craft breweries are collectively getting together and doing deliveries. I think we're going to see loads of that. And I think we'll probably see more, not necessarily that they're going to merge the businesses together, but they're going to promote the businesses as a collective or as a marketplace rather than individuals, because it's strength in numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, I think from the startup perspective side, so if someone started but they're kind of like 6 months in, it's been really, really tough and quite heartbreaking in some respects. So I've been working closely with the universities, the student and graduate enterprise departments, and they're dealing with international students that set up their businesses 6 months ago. So that it's just an absolute mess in that sense. Like, they can't claim, they don't have 2 years of accounts, so they can't go down the grant for the self-employed people. They don't have an office or premises, so they can't get the grants, and they've put their whole entire life and into that, and they're 6 months down the line, and the universities have said, you can do this. This is great. This is for you. And now they're just on the end of the phone going like, oh God, this is terrible. And they're feeling completely helpless. Like, it's the same for the business support agencies as well. Like, it's just been that person on the end of the phone going, oh God, yeah, because they're stuck in that sense. So I think a lot of them are going for universal credit. But again, if you're international, like, that's just, it's just, there's a lot of, I think it's very very different to who you speak to, but yeah, the startups have been hit particularly hard.
My take out from that, my message to that is that there's a lot of support out there. They need to reach out and talk to people, and it's not necessarily about getting physical help, i.e. cash. A lot of it's just emotional support.
Yeah.
Having somebody to just have a moan to, basically. That's what the support agencies should be offering.
Well, that's also as well, like, if you're new, fresh on the ground, like, your network is relatively small. Like, it's all right for us three. We've been in the game for a few years now, some more than others. But we have a really strong, lush network around us, and for someone starting out, like, okay, they have their contact as a business support agency or at the university, but then if they haven't gone out there and made all those interactions before it all happened, it's very difficult to now start trying to do that through LinkedIn and stuff. It's almost like cold calling in a way, isn't it?
For sure. I think it's really been flooded, the kind of online networking space at the minute, because everyone's just trying to connect to everyone, and you can never really replicate physical networking events at the end of the day, as much as we try to. Inboxes are full of email, like, newsletters, and then you've got LinkedIn, which has just been like constant barrage of the same kind of messaging as well.
Yeah, I've noticed that on LinkedIn. It's the same messages over and over again. Hundreds of coaches and consultants trying to offer services, which is great, but the market's just swamped, basically. Yeah.
What do you think, in your opinion, for both of you, what do you think needs to change now in terms of how businesses are approaching this, or how startups are approaching the situation, to kind of get away from the everyone's trying to pivot, and, well, not everyone, but a lot of companies are trying to pivot, and a lot of companies are trying to overcome this, and there's a lot of the same kind of content that we're seeing over and over again.
So yeah, back to the sponge thing, like, just take it all in. This is the point now. We've been given this time, and just absorb everything. Don't wait for this to end. Think that this is the normal now, because we have no idea how long this is going to go for. So treat this as now. Don't think, oh well, I'll put that off till this is over, because I don't want to say it could be 2 years, but it might be. You just don't know. So treat this as the new normal, and go to loads of networking events. Like, one of the cool things is, so there's all these worldwide conferences that were scheduled in, and they've all had to be either cancelled or they're still going ahead, but they're going ahead online, which means that we can access all this incredible content for either a fraction of the price or for free. Like, I've signed up to all this stuff like Lead Digital Festival, and all these absolute cool kids and cats are like doing these amazing seminars and workshops, and I'm just there like trying to get it all in my face. So I, like, just use this as personal development, research, absorb the info, don't make any quick decisions now, we've got a bit of time, and just play it by ear and see where it takes you. Lucy.
I don't know where you all are to do that. I'm going to put my branding hat on. I think now more than ever, I'm going to bang my fist. Now more than ever, companies, products, services, and individuals need to focus on the brand. And I've said this from a personal point of view. It's really, really people's true characters are coming out through this. You're either shining or your sort of negative bits are coming out. And that's true of big companies. I'm not going to name and shame people, but you can see big companies that have made some real gaffes. The banks haven't come out particularly shiny in this, as an example. And then you've got other companies who are adapting or helping or being seen to be philanthropic, and people will remember that. Post this, people will remember the companies and the individuals who've been positive and providing good quality content. It's two different things. It's your brand and your content. I think you're right, Alex, there's a lot of crap content out at the minute and a lot of repetitive stuff. So it's about doing something different. Content is king, but also just working on your own personal brand and making sure that you check in with people, keep in people's faces so they don't forget about you in a subtle way. Don't kind of do a Charlotte. Don't do that. Just kind of.
Because you're subtle, aren't you, mate?
About as subtle as a brick. Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
It's reminding people that you're there and that you haven't dropped off a cliff, basically.
Yeah.
Doing charitable and philanthropic work. It's got to be genuine, because people are very savvy now, and they'll notice if companies are just doing it for a publicity stunt. But I think there's some real sort of genuine philanthropy at the moment, which is great, and people will remember that. People will remember your brands more than anything when this is all over.
Completely agree. I think right now it's, as I say, yeah, content is king, and we've got more time than ever to kind of produce that content as well. Yeah. So even stuff like what I'm doing here, I wouldn't have been able to do because I sit in the car for 2 hours every day getting to and from work. And then by the time I get back, it's like all that energy has just been drained. Whereas now it's like things like video. There's so much video out there now, so many webinars happening, because we've got more time and energy than ever to do it.
And just do it. Don't bloody fanny on and pretend you're going to do it. Just get on with it and do it. Just do it.
Also, don't feel guilty if you don't do it. Like, if you don't want to do it, like, don't feel just because everyone else is doing it, you have to do it. But find something that you do want to do.
And what kind of steps, as this is more, I guess, towards Lucy in terms of the branding sort of area of things, what kind of steps do you think the businesses should be taking now for the long run in terms of their branding? So not necessarily in response to everything that's going on, but things they can sort of going back to basics. So the whole point of this, what kind of things could they be looking at as the foundations of their branding that they can use this time to improve or to do that they haven't even done yet, if it's, say, a startup?
I think, we always say that your brand's an extension of your personality, so whether that's the personality of a product or the personality of the organisation, which it basically, brass tacks, it comes down to the individual, the people you're trying to convey, and different companies have different personalities. So I would just I think what you were both saying is it's about using the time wisely. You can either sit around and watch bloody Netflix, or you can, concentrate on what you're good at and think about what you're good at and do more of what you're good at and less of what you're rubbish at, and just start thinking about things like your core values and making sure that everything you do has that in place behind it. But yeah, I think it's looking for opportunities in the market and just doing some things a little bit different. So, for example, there was a woman on LinkedIn this morning, and she had a silly hat on. And
Yes,
she did
Sharon.
Sharon MacArthur, big shout out to you. She basically put a post on saying, I've been feeling a bit up and down, so I thought I'd wear a stupid hat and put this fantastic photograph of her. Dead simple, and it's just like the response to it's been amazing. So it's doing things like that, and that's really, really simple and little to do. And I think it is a bit doom and gloom at the moment. I think you need to be really positive. I think everybody needs to be a bit more positive and remember that that we will come out of this. It'll be whatever it will be. Que sera, sera, as Doris Day would say. And just like I say, people will remember quirky little things like that. And you don't have to spend like hours and hours doing it. You have to just be a little bit more thoughtful, not necessarily clever, but just be a bit thoughtful about your brands. Just be a bit thoughtful about your content. Don't repeat all the rubbish that's going out there. Do something a little bit different.
I think it's forcing people to be way more creative as well at the minute.
Yeah, I agree.
To really think out of the box. I'm going to move on to the last question, which is for Charlotte. So you were
special, Charlotte.
specifically for the Windy Bank. You work very closely with young people. You work very closely, clearly, with young people.
She works with me, and I'm really old.
A variety of ages of people.
A variety of people, yes.
A variety of humans. Many of whom will be sitting at home right now feeling unable to pursue their ambitions. So whether it's they were wanting to start a business and were in the research phase, or whether it was a career that they were looking at pursuing. So I guess my question is, what kind of advice would you give to young people right now who feel trapped and feel like they don't know which way to go?
Yeah, so I guess, well, it depends on what stage everyone's at. If they're just finishing college in the summer, or if they're going to be graduating from university. If I go with that kind of demographic first, I think what would be really useful now is to look at this time and actually use it to start bulking up your experience for when you start doing your job applications or funding applications. If you want to become a startup entrepreneur, or if you want to get into a career, people are really going to be looking at your CV. And if you can put something now that you were doing at this time to help people. Alice, my member of staff, she's been furloughed, but she's working in one of the food banks delivering parcels to needy families. And it's just, so she's working with 3 different charities. She's building up her skill set, coordinating, and she's also doing admin work for the Facebook group, so she can choose to do that in her home. So it does depend on how you feel, like, especially about going out there. Like, if you're not comfortable with that, there are still some incredible stuff that you can do online to help your local communities. So I would say seize that opportunity now, because whilst it's incredible for your community, because you're pretty much saving lives yourself, it's also going to help you in the long run with your with whatever you choose to do in sort of 6 months to a year's time.
It's what you were saying before as well. Learning and preparation. Use the time wisely. Just like absorb as much as you can. Be a greedy information monster and just take it all in. But also, if you're thinking of setting a business, to prepare for it. You can do research. Brilliant time to be doing research.
Yeah.
Yeah, market research, anything like that.
You can do online interviews or whatever, like that.
I think maybe in a way, though, the trouble is that there's so much people could be doing. Like, if you're sat there and you're like, right, I'm going to do something, you're like, where
you're overwhelmed.
Do I start? Because there's so much stuff out there. And that, I think, Lucy, back to what you were saying about, your core values. Okay, you have them as a brand, as a business, but you also have them as you. Like, really do some of that internalizing. Like, what are your core values as a person? Do you want to help people? Do you want to, what else is there apart from helping people?
Not helping people.
Do you not want to help people? Do you want to help yourself? Like,
make money as well.
I guess you want to make money. Like,
mm-hmm.
and so then break that down. Then break that motivation down. So that's the end goal. what's that first step look like to get
bite-sized learning and bite-sized. Well, funnily enough, we've struggled with homeschooling, and BBC have just launched BBC. It's all called BBC Bite Size, and it's designed. It's brilliant, actually. It's designed so that you can dip in and out of it. There's 3 modules for the day, and you can do as much or as little as you want. It's perfect.
Yeah,
and recommendation.
Brilliant. And not being afraid to ask someone what they think, like reaching out on LinkedIn, say, I'm thinking about doing this. I want to improve my leadership skills. What do you recommend? What do you think about it? Feels like some absolute G who's a leader in the Northeast, like just ask them what they did. Like say, for example, you want to be detective. So go and find some Northeast detectives on LinkedIn and ask them how the hell they got to where they were. Go and ask a business owner who's absolutely bossing it, like, what are you doing? Because they've got some time. Like, well, they might not, because they might be like still firefighting.
Yeah, but as we're saying, Geordie land, shy Ben's getting out. If you don't ask, you don't know.
Yeah, but the first step is to ask for help. I think that's the most important bit of advice I can give.
Even if it's friends and family, them.
Thank you guys so much for your time. I hope that was helpful to anyone who's listening, businesses, startups, and young people alike.